This is Killer Innovations, a show about ideas, creativity, and how you can innovate. Welcome to the Innovator's Garage, where you learn to create your next game-changing killer innovation.
I don't know about you, but this morning when I woke up, I actually went through my normal morning routine where I asked myself a series of questions. Now, if you're a long-time listener to the show, you know I'm kind of a nut or fanatic about questions. And in fact, my first book was all around questions specifically to spark new thinking around innovation. Now, this inspiration for me to do kind of this daily ritual I go through about asking myself a series of questions actually was inspired by Ben Franklin. Ben Franklin started each day and ended each day by asking himself two questions. In the morning, he would ask himself, what good shall I do today? And in the evening, he would ask himself, what good have I done today? And that was kind of the inspiration to say, are there a series of questions that we should just have in front of mind to kind of keep us on track? Another inspiration for me is Albert Einstein. He reportedly say, you learn from yesterday, you live for today, you hope for tomorrow, but the important thing is never to stop questioning. And so my first book, I collected up over, a decade, about 100 questions or so. And I boiled those down to about 40 questions that are in the first book, but all those questions were focused specifically around innovation. What I'm going to share with you today are 9 questions that if you ask yourself daily, if you kind of keep this list on a piece of paper, tack it next to your computer, put it into your phone or your tablet device, whatever, and just go back and look at it regularly. Just by keeping these 9 questions at top of mind, these could just totally transform your career and your success. In fact, I wish I'd had these questions back when I started my career, and I've collected these up over time. People have sent them to me or I've read about them someplace. But I've collected them up. These are the 9 that I use, and I want to share them with you today. So what's the first question? The first question is to constantly ask myself, what is my biggest strength? Now, over my career, my strength has changed. What I thought was my strength was my ability to write software code in college and in my first career. What that really was is that I was good at writing code. It really wasn't a strength. It was what I was really good at. And there's a difference between what you're good at and what is your strength. Now, in the case of what I was good at was writing code, but when I really dug through and understand it, my ability to write code or to create software products that, became award-winning products was because not that I could write great code, but that I could kind of tease out exactly what the customer would need in a product and therefore build a better product. So it was really the ability to see what the customer would need, not what the customer asked for, but what the customer would need. And that became really my core strength. It's this future view, this understanding of where things are going to be 2, 3, 5, 10 years from now. That became my biggest strength, not what I was good at writing code. So you need to sit down and really take a look at what is your strength. And you may start off by looking at what you're good at and then ask yourself, why are you good at it, to understand your strength. And what you want to do is you want to stop doing the stuff you hate. You may be good at something, but you may hate doing it. In high school, I was good at cutting grass. I hated it. I'm a redhead. I don't do well in the sun. So for me, I was good at it, but I hated it, right? So stop doing the stuff you hate. Find your strengths so that you can discover what you're passionate about. So I was good at software coding, but my real strength was this ability to see out and build something that the customer was going to intersect at a year from now or 2 years from now. And my strength really was that ability to see out and see into the future and see what was coming next and see how to build something that customers would want. So question number 1, what is my biggest strength? And my strength has changed over time, or at least I thought my strength had changed over time. But constantly asking this question kind of revalidates it. So this is a question you want to ask on a regular basis. Question number 2 that I ask myself is, am I having fun? Now, some of you may be like saying, whoa, life is not fun. Well, you're right. Life is not always fun, right? But overall, you need to enjoy what you're doing to be successful. You can only do so much commitment to work or commitment to an activity out of pure energy. You will eventually burn out. If you truly enjoy, if you truly find it fun, then the energy kind of regenerates itself. Your ability to go for that long distance, to commit it all over a long period of time, is really dictated by, are you enjoying it? Are you having fun? Do you find it fulfilling? Do you find it feeds your passion? Do you find that you get up in the morning and you cannot stop yourself from getting up and going to work? So are you having fun? Now, be careful here. You may ask yourself this question, and on a given day, you may be just having a bad day. And so therefore, you're just like, I'm out. Today's not fun, so I'm done. Life isn't fun. The work you do is not going to be fun over the entire time you're doing it. But if you can take a step back and look at it and say, overall, yes, I'm going through a tough time right now with work, career, family, whatever. But overall, it's worth it. Stay engaged. It will be fun over the long haul. We'll all go through these periods where we're going to run into and have some real challenges. So asking yourself, are you having fun, isn't a question about today or this particular instance or this particular challenge. It's that broad scope, are you having fun? Now, at the same time, there's a counterbalance to that question, which is, what pain do I want in my life? What pain do I want in my life? Now, happiness requires struggles. When we look back on life, we look at things and we say, wow, we went through some hard times, but, that's what actually built us up or made us stronger or made us do something successful. Now, in my own case, my wife and I, when we first got married, we got married in our sophomore year in college. Our first apartment in Evansville, Indiana, was $50 a month, and it was in a condemned building. Yes, a condemned building. In fact, the landlord only allowed us to stay in that building if we agreed not to have mail delivered there. So therefore, people couldn't figure out that we were actually living in that building. $50 a month in a condemned building. Now, you may be thinking, oh my gosh, that's terrible. Look, we had no money. My wife was working full-time and going to school 17 hours a week. I was working full-time, and we were, basically living paycheck to paycheck. But you know something? We still laugh about that time. It was a great time. It was our first apartment. We were newlyweds. It was just a phenomenal time in our life. We don't think about the fact that we could only afford an apartment in a condemned building. But those struggles built the foundation for our marriage. Same thing happens in the startups. All startups go through challenges. You're going to run into problems when you're trying to create a new idea or try to innovate and take an idea and turn it into a product. You're going to do pivots. You're going to find out something doesn't work. You're going to take it back. But guess what? When you make that successful, the things you remember are those struggles. Those are the things that stick in your mind. Think of them as kind of like tests. They're building up your strength. You're building up your muscle. They're building up your endurance. So what pain do I want in my life? Think about that from the standpoint of it's a positive, not a negative. The quality of your life is not determined by your positive experiences, albeit those contribute, but the quality is of your negative experiences. And more importantly, what did you do with those negative experiences? The question is what pain do you want to sustain? What pain are you willing to put up with in order to have and build yourself up to be able to endure, to be able to persevere in order to be successful? So this question number 3, what pain do I want in my life? The reason I ask this question is it forces you to be proactive in thinking about the pain or the struggles or the challenges that you want to face in whatever effort you're working on, rather than just sitting back and having all these negative things happen to you. Be proactive. Ask this question and think about those things so that when they come up, you're ready to react. You're ready to move forward. You're ready to learn from them, to be successful through them. So we've covered the first 3 questions. We've got 6 questions yet to go. We're talking about those 9 questions that will lead to your career success. So stay right there. We'll be right back after this break.
This is Killer Innovations, a show about ideas, creativity, and how you can innovate. Welcome to the Innovator's Garage, where you learn to create your next game-changing killer innovation.
We are talking about the 9 daily questions that will improve your career success. This is a ritual that I go through each morning. We've covered the first 3, so we're picking up at question number 4. Number 4 is, what will I do today that will matter 1 year from now? What is it that's in my prioritized list, the work I'm doing, my innovation projects, my side projects, my nonprofits, my work in the community? What will I do today that will matter 1 year from now? Now, this is a very important question for me because I tend to get into this down into the minutia. I get latched onto one specific project and I will dig down into the minutia. And I get my head so stuck in that one little project that I kind of lose perspective. For me, it's important that the work that I do, or some portion of the work that I do, has longevity. That's going to be around for a while. That creates a legacy. So for this question, this one's one really, really personal for me, because it forces me to get out of the minutia and take a step back and look at the broader activities. Look at the things that I'm facing, or the things that I am working on, or the things that I'm prioritizing, and asking myself, will this matter a year from now, or 5 years from now, or 10 years from now, or 100 years from now? What is it that I'm doing, and will this have impact? Now, the way I try to get around this is on the top of my daily to-do list. And I have a daily to-do list, which is typically limited to only 3 items, not 100 items. I pick 3 things that I am going to work on. Then item number 1 is this item that says, what is it that I'm working on, or what task can I work on that will matter a year from now? Therefore, I keep my to-do list, at least with some effort, to be further out rather than being in the tactics. The tactics of, working with the accounting group to close the books, or working with, Andrew, my associate producer, on getting guests scheduled for next Sunday. It is this one task that forces me to kind of look out and take a broader view. It's really about keeping my eyes up rather than keeping my eyes down, looking at my shoelaces as I work through my to-do list. Now, just to give you some insight on projects that I'm working on that will have an impact, I hope, from a year from now, are things like Pioneer Education, which is one of the nonprofits we support. Pioneer Education is building a school in Rwanda, Africa. This is in the Bugesera region, the poorest region of Africa. It's partnered up with Lakeside Fish Farms, which I am an investor in. Lakeside is a fish farm in Rwanda. It's designed as an economic development effort. We have about 100 employees that work at the fish farm, and that created just an unbelievable amount of economic development in that region, where now Lakeside is the largest fish farm in Rwanda and one of the largest in sub-Saharan Africa. And the challenge being, though, is that's great. We've got work, but we're really suffering on the educational front. So in this case, Lakeside, partnering with Pioneer, bought land next to the fish farm, is using the electricity and all the infrastructure that was invested and put into the fish farm to basically take a school that's a mud hut, no electricity, no running water, no internet, and about 600 students, and create a school. And the curriculum in this school teaches innovation and creativity. So this is one of my passion projects. This is one of those projects that for me will have an impact a year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, and who knows, maybe 100 years from now, if we can transform the lives of these kids who ultimately can become innovators, entrepreneurs, and whatever in the future. So what is it that you're working on? It doesn't have to be something, like that. It could be you're coming up with a new product that's going to ship 2 years from now. That's going to have an impact. Find those longer range activities and put those on your radar screen. And that's important from the standpoint of, again, getting you out of the minutia, getting your eyes up, looking out to the future, and seeing what is it that you're working on? What task are you working on today that will have an impact a year from now? Question number 5, is getting rich worth it? I told you earlier in the show the story about the fact that my wife and I got married our sophomore year in college, and we lived in a condemned apartment. Well, let me tell you, we lived in that apartment for, a year and a half, I'm guessing, a year. And then we had an opportunity to get an apartment closer to campus where my wife was finishing up her nursing degree, and it was going to cost us $75 a month. And we just stressed over that. We counted pennies. We looked at everything in the paycheck. We scrimped and saved so that we could step up and get into an apartment that was literally across the street from campus at the University of Evansville, and not be in that condemned building anymore. And that was a big step for us. And like most people, we have this illusion that if there was more money, life would be better, that we would be happier. Now, the challenge, the thing that's proven out to me is I've had success in my career. Guess what? Money doesn't make you happy. If you're not happy now, you're not going to be happy when you have money. And if you're happy, you're not going to be happier with money. Trust me on this. A lot of people set their objectives, what they consider success is this ability to get a certain amount of money. They want $1 million in the bank. They want $5 million in the bank. They want $100 million in the bank. Right? But the challenge is, or at least my perspective is that money is not what makes you happy. And in fact, I've seen and I've counseled and mentored and coached many successful people who thought that by getting rich, they were going to be happy. Then when they became rich or became successful and had sufficient money to meet any need that they would ever want, they found that they were not happy, and they went through a big crisis in their life. So this question for me is just trying to keep the checks and balances. What is enough, and what is it that really makes you happy? Because it's not money. You need money to provide, but it's not the thing that's going to make you happy. So asking your question, is getting rich worth it? What do you sacrifice to become rich? And is that sacrifice worth it? If you're looking at money to be purely the means to make you happy, be careful of what you put at risk or what you sacrifice, whether it be family or friends or your children or whatever, right? So ask yourself every morning when you get up for that motivation, is what you're going to sacrifice today, is it worth it just to be rich? If rich is your motivating point. And this is one that I constantly have to ask myself to keep myself in check, because I myself will go and go a little crazy. And I did in my early career, and I look back and I wish I had done some things differently. So stay right there. We're going to be right back. We're going to come back. We're doing the 9 questions. We'll be back to pick up at question number 6 right after this quick break.
This is Killer Innovations, a show about ideas, creativity, and how you can innovate. Welcome to the Innovator's Garage, where you learn to create your next game-changing killer innovation.
Before we hop back into the show, I want to thank Zoom, the sponsor for this episode of Killer Innovations. Zoom delivers flawless video, clear audio, and amazing instant sharing so that you and your team can work together no matter where your team members are. Now, how do I know this? I've been using Zoom personally and in my work life daily for the last year to collaborate with my team who is scattered around the world. And it's the first video collaboration tool I've ever used that doesn't suck. Now, it's not just me that thinks so. Gartner recently named Zoom a new leader in its Magic Quadrant for web conferencing this year. So give it a try with a free account that allows you to meet up with 50 video participants. That's right, it's a free account, and you can have up to 50 video participants on a call. Visit killerinnovations.com/Zoom to find out more, and trust me, you will never go back to a different video collaboration tool. So again, go over and visit killerinnovations.com/Zoom to find out more. Now, picking up in our conversation, let's pick up in question number 6. Again, we're talking about the 9 daily questions that will improve your career success. These are not questions tied to innovation or creativity. This is really about the questions that you should go through every day just to kind of give yourself a check, making sure you keep your prioritizations right and keep yourself focused on what is most important. So let's pick it up with question number 6. Now, question number 6 is one that I ask myself every day, which is, what isn't working? What isn't working? Face it, life isn't perfect, right? We always have challenges, whether it's, kids, our relationship with our spouse, or the work world. But asking myself, what isn't working? And I make a list of what is most crappy. It's almost like a reverse list of things that are going really well down to the bottom of the list, which is things that are just, in the toilet. Flip it around, prioritize on the thing that is the most crappy. Now, some of the biggest impact that I've had both in my personal life and in my career is to take that thing that is most crappy and make it okay. It isn't about taking the thing that's really going well and making it perfect. You get a little bit of an incremental bump. But taking something that is just really off the rails and making it okay. Don't have to make it perfect. Just making it okay can sometimes have the biggest impact. In the business world, asking yourself what isn't working for the customer. What is it about your business or your activities or the things you do as an organization that is viewed as crappy in the case of your customer? And then just make it okay, because that is noticeable. And I've just found over my career that just simply making that one little step of finding out what's really not working and then just making it okay. Now, why is this so hard? Now, over careers, most people tend to want to not look at that stuff. They kind of know it's there. Things aren't perfect. They tend to want to pat themselves on the back and say, woo, we're doing this really well. We're doing that really well. And wow, this is going great. We tend not to want to look at it. We kind of shy away from it. We cover our eyes. We don't look at it. We don't want to face what isn't going well. Because in some cases, we think about that as being a reflection on us. It's a reflection on whether or not what we as an individual or us as leaders or whatever, if you're a great leader, everything should be perfect. Wrong. Life isn't perfect. Business isn't perfect. Leaders are not perfect. All of us have our challenges. And just by simply making that list of what is most crappy with whatever it is, whether it's, with our relationship with our partner or spouse, our relationship with our kids, relationship with friends, what's happening in the work world, whatever it is, what isn't working? Make that list. What is most crappy? And then start tackling the worst of the worst with the objective of not making it this absolutely shining, perfect thing, but just take it from being at the bottom of the list to being okay. And in my career, when I've done that, that's had the most significant impact. It's the thing people will notice. Because again, most people don't want to look at where they're failing or where things are going not so well and don't want to invest that time just to get it to be and make it okay. Question number 7. Why so serious? Why so serious? This is a big challenge for me. I tend to get deep when I'm working on projects, and I focus on the little things. And God forbid anybody try to interrupt me or try to want to ask me questions on something that they're working on when I am all chips in, heads down, working on a project. I lose all perspective. I lose all points of reference about how this thing I'm working on fits into the much broader scale of what people are doing. So I will go so deep on things. And I lose that perspective of, hey, this is just one little thing in a much broader scale. My wife and I have this kind of code word we use in these discussions when one of us has kind of gotten off the rails in this area. And that is, be careful, this is only a blip. When you think about the total duration of the existence of the earth, the existence of man, and then you think about your time slice in here, we are a blip. Or as my wife says, a bliphood. We are but a blip. We may think that what we're working on is so grand and so impactful, and we become so serious that we lose all perspective. We lose the ability to sit back and look at this in the grander scale and kind of relax. Take a breath. We don't have to be so serious. I think our work is important, but it's important in the context of recognizing that we're a blip. Now, our hope is that our little blip, that we will leave this world a better place for our kids, our grandkids, our great-grandkids, for future generations. But in the context, let's not be so serious. Let's not jump overboard on the things that we're working on. So what I do in this case is I just ask myself, why so serious? Which causes me to really go back and look at the projects I'm working on, take a step back, and kind of look at it within the context. Look at it within the broader activities. Look at it from the standpoint of what is this going to do over the next year, 2 years, 5 years? And give myself permission to not be so serious. For me, when I say serious, it also drives what I would call the perfection focus. I'm a perfectionist. I'm also a notorious procrastinator, right? I'll wait until the last possible minute to do something. And why? Because I don't want to start the project because I'm already convinced I can't do it perfectly. And rather than just admitting that I can't do it perfectly, I squeeze the time down and then I get the work done and ship it or get it out of the way. And then I used the excuse was I didn't have sufficient time. So it wasn't perfect because I didn't have sufficient time. What it really is, it's me saying, I've got this unbelievable bar for perfectionism that gets in the way. And I use procrastination as really this way to give it as an excuse. And for me, when I say so serious, it's me trying to drive an activity to be perfect. And by asking this question every morning and giving myself and reminding myself, I don't need to be so serious. I don't need to make everything perfect. In some cases, in most cases, there is a level that is good enough. So, asking myself, why am I so serious? is really giving myself that permission to step back, understand the context, and not have to deliver that ultimate perfect solution. So when we come back, we're going to pick up at question number 8. We've got question number 8 and question number 9, and that will be the 9 daily questions that will improve your career success. We'll be right back after this short break.
This is Killer Innovations, a show about ideas, creativity, and how you can innovate. Welcome to the Innovator's Garage, where you learn to create your next game-changing killer innovation.
We are talking today about the 9 daily questions you should ask yourself to ensure success in your career. This is based on a habit that I have of each morning running through just a series of questions, and they're more of just keeping them top of mind as I go through my day. We've covered the first 7. Let's pick up at question number 8. Question number 8, how can I learn from this? Look, every day I run into something that doesn't go right, something that I've done wrong, somebody in my staff has not delivered what was expected. My kids, my grandkids, actually, grandkids can never do anything wrong. But the question I always ask myself is, how can I learn from this? Look, we all fail. Now, real successful individuals learn from failure. And in fact, their long-term success is based on the fact that they look at those failures and learn from each and every one of them. And remind yourself that it's a learning experience no matter what the outcome. Now, I've had some real doozies of failures. Things that I did that just didn't turn out. Something that I overlooked that turned out to be a real problem for something that came out down the line, things that I had to take responsibility for. Now, that's the hardest thing to do. I remember right out of college, I was managing a small software development team, and we were producing, this is back with 5.25-inch floppies. We had to duplicate these floppies, and we were producing 100 copies of this product. And turned out that there was a mistake in one of the floppies. So it got duplicated 100 times, and we couldn't ship that product with that mistake. So I literally went 16, 18-hour days for 2 days over a holiday weekend, hand duplicating 5.25-inch floppies to make sure that the disk was right. Because it was my mistake. I screwed up. But the key there that I learned early on, and this was the advice I got from my mentor, Bob Davis, when I had to go to him and tell him about the mistake, he didn't yell, he didn't scream, he didn't throw things at me. What he looked at me and said was, okay, got it. We all make mistakes. What are you going to do about it? What is your plan to correct this? How do we get this done so we can ship this product on time? And it wasn't fair for me to impose on my team to have to fix this. This was a mistake I personally made, and I had to take the responsibility for it. And I was more disappointed in myself. Bob never expressed disappointment in me. I was probably harder on myself. And I pulled out all the stops. I got that thing done, worked crazy hours, got it done. We shipped that product on time. But that was a hard lesson to learn. We're all going to make mistakes. Take responsibility for it. Well, what are you going to do for it? And now, question number 9. Probably one of the most important questions I ask myself each and every day. Question is, do I pick partners and friends who support me, challenge me, encourage me, and help me grow? Do I pick partners and friends who support me, challenge me, encourage me, and help me grow? There's a saying that's going around in Silicon Valley. It's really popular. It says, we are the average of the 5 people we spend the most time with. Not that we're the same as the top person you hang out with. You're the average. We are the average of the 5 people we spend the most time with. So think about that. Think through the people that you spend the most time with. Are they helping you grow? Is their life one that you would be proud to have as yours? The key here is to be selective of who you keep in your inner circle. Again, make a list. List out the 5 people that you spend the most time with. And look at their life. Look at their output. And their output isn't just work. Look at their family life. Look at their kids. Look at the organizations that they're involved in. If you could trade lives with them, would you be proud? This is the case where it's kind of like, when you're hiring, you're always told to hire people smarter than you. Apply this to your friends. Hire friends that are better than you. If you have 5 people that you spend the most time with, if their lives, if you could score them, but they're higher than you, then you get pulled up. Right? So again, you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So be selective at who you keep in your inner circle. Who do you spend your time with? How do you allocate your time? Surround yourself with people based on common interests, values, things you consider important to your personal growth. People who value time and knowledge and friendship. I've had lots of friends over my life where I was really committed. They were not. It was always me making the appointments. It was always me reaching out. It was always me coming over to help out when things went bad. So again, question number 9, do I pick partners and friends who support me, challenge me, encourage me, and help me grow? So again, let's run through these questions again one more time really quick. What is my biggest strength? Number 1. Number 2, am I having fun? Number 3, what do I plan? What pain do I want in my life? Number 4, what will I do today that will matter 1 year from now? Number 5, is getting rich worth it? Number 6, what isn't working? Number 7, why so serious? Question number 8, how can I learn from this? And number 9, do I pick partners and friends who support me, challenge me, encourage me, and help me grow? And again, these are the 9 daily questions based on a list that I created to help keep me on track, and hopefully will help improve your career success. So with that, we're going to wrap up the show. All the notes, all the list of these questions, you can find them over at killerinnovations.com. So check out the show notes. Also, I would just ask, hop over to iTunes, give us a rating, give us a review. It helps us get the word out for the show and let people know about it, and share the show with others. I would greatly appreciate it. I do this show to pay it forward. I ask if you can help me pay it forward by sharing the show with others. With that, we will be back next week here on the show, live every Sunday, 35 stations across the country. Podcast comes out on Tuesday, and we'll talk to you real soon. Bye-bye.
Autism. 1 out of every 68 children in America are impacted across every race, ethnicity, and socioeconomic group. If you aren't directly affected, someone you know is. Today's world doesn't support those on the autism spectrum. It needs hacking for us to truly welcome those who think and create differently than ourselves. We're Hacking Autism, a nonprofit charity with a mission to hack therapy, technologies, and career opportunities that improve the personal and professional lives of people on the autism spectrum. We believe that everyone can play a role in supporting those on the autism spectrum so that they can show their unique talents and abilities in this fast-paced world. You aren't powerless in this fight. Use your gifts and talents to make a positive impact. Join us in making a difference. Go to hackingautism.org to learn more.
Carpenters have their hammers and saws. Chefs have their outfitted kitchens. and musicians have their instruments. A craftsman's ability to do their job is dependent on having the right tools. So where does an innovator, someone who takes an idea and makes it real, find the right tools to do their job? Outfit your innovator's garage by visiting innovation.tools. Innovation.tools is an online store created by innovators for innovators. It's where you will find tested and proven tools to help you create that next great product or service. These tools include books, audio training, video training, brainstorming how-tos, and much, much more. And for a limited time, listeners of Killer Innovations will get 25% off on your first order by using the discount code RADIO at checkout. And 100% of our profits from your purchases will be donated to charity. So go to innovation.tools and create that next great innovation.
Rwanda is a shining example of how the global community can come together and rebuild a country after a devastating genocide. But there is still more that needs to be done. In the rural villages, students are crowded into schools with no electricity, no running water, no internet access, and limited sanitation. Will these kids be ready to continue the rebuilding of Rwanda, or will they be dependent upon others? Through education and employment, boys and girls have an equally promising future that can transform their struggling communities. For $20 a month, a child can be educated and a community strengthened. By supporting Pioneer Education Africa, a 501c3 charity, you partner with others to provide education that will prepare a generation to take on the task of self-reliance. 100% of the proceeds received go directly to the education of the children. Visit pioneereducationafrica.com to find out more.